grand awakening, grand risings, and good morning to those who are still just trying to find a way. I hope you got outside today. I know we may be living in different parts of the world that may be dealing with different seasons, but if it ain't snow on the ground, make your way out there and put your feet in that motherfucker. Ground yourself. Praises to the ancestors. Praises to the ancestors. In every way. But we finna get into these lessons. What I have here today is some important information that I would like to share with you all. See, because I used to go around asking children, do you know who the Black Panther Party is? And often I always get the same answer, Wakanda Forever. Now don't get me wrong, that was a very different type of movie which pushes a different type of narrative of black people. But at the end of that movie, it was still black people against black people. And what I am seeking is oneness for all carbonated, melanated people. Okay? So, what was the Black Panther Party? Well, they were formed in 1966 in Oakland, California for a self-defense revolutionary carbonated organization, mainly against police brutality. Now, this shit been going on forever. All this, what we experiencing with the police and with the system, this been going on forever. It organized community events such as free breakfast programs for kids, health clinics, over 65 social programs, even giving away shoes and clothes. And talk about us. So stand up. That's us. All right. With over 5,000 members and with 45 organized branches across America, Black Panthers were able to organize a newspaper, sell 250,000 newspapers weekly. And the opinion polls of the day showed 90% of melanated people supported the Black Panther Party. So which means that was only 10% of black people that didn't support them. 90% of people like us supported us. Okay, let's continue. If you don't know, if you're not familiar, J. Edgar Hoover, they came up with COINTELPRO to pretty much strip and annihilate the Black Panther Party, the group, and everything. Because you got to remember, we got branches from California to New York, New York to Louisiana, Louisiana to Ohio and Detroit. So you got to understand, this shit run deeper. The 10-point growth program, if you ain't see my last video, go check it out. The 10-point program pretty much addressed issues from housing to military service and made such demands as the release of black men from prison, end to police brutality, full employment, access to land, food, and knowledge. They also had a thing called Defense of the Second Amendment, which the aspect aimed carrying rifles and strongly supporting the position that black Americans had the constitutional right to carry weapons. The right of the people to keep and to bear arms, pretty much, shall not be infringed, pretty much. That's the Second Amendment, pretty much. I want to get onto some names. I'm not going to get into what they did, how they die. Some going to speak on their chapters, while others may speak on their achievements and what they were to the party. I say these names into respect, peace, love, and protection, and recognition. All right? This is not to knock any other leaders, but these are past leaders that stood for us. If you don't realize that we're still fighting for us. Mama Mia Abu Jamal, Lieutenant Minister of Information in the Philadelphia chapter. Sandiata Akoli, Finance Minister of Harlem chapter. Ashanti Alston, anarchist activist. Richard Aoki, Field Marshal and FBI informant. Kwasi Balagoon, former member of the Harlem chapter. Charles Barron, former member of the Harlem chapter. He was a community activist and the Democratic NYC councilman. Lucille Berrien, political activist from the Milwaukee chapter. Daruba bin Wahad, New York activist. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, and you like, where am I reading from? I took my time to write and highlight it, so please respect my works. Veronza Bowers Jr., William Lee Brandt, Elaine Brown. She was the chairwoman and the Minister of Defense in the mid-70s. H. Rap Brown, very, very inspirational man. Former SNCC student, which is Students Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And he was also a justice minister. Safaya Bakhardi, member of the Harlem chapter. Ed Bullins, minister of culture in San Francisco chapter. Stokely Carmichael, former SNCC leader and honorary prime minister. Changed his name to Kwame Ture. He was the leader of the black nationalists in the 60s. He wrote books. He was the founder of the Black Power movement and one of the first members of the Black Panther Party. Bunchy Carter, he was the Deputy Minister of Defense in the Southern California chapter. Mark Clark, he was the Defense Captain in the Illinois chapter. Eldridge Cleaver was the Minister of Information. Kathleen Neal Cleaver was the party spokesperson and a law school professor. Paul Coates, he was the Defense Captain of the Baltimore chapter. Mark Comfort, he was a community activist. Emory Douglas was a party artist and a cartoonist. All right, that's political cartoons. If you're not familiar, those little cartoons besides just drawing. Aaron Dixon, he was a community activist, former captain of the Seattle chapter of the Black Panther Party. He ran with the Green Party for the U.S. Senate opposing the Iraq War with Saddam Hussein. Donald L. Cox was a field marshal of the party. Marshall, known as Eddie Conway, Minister of Defense of the Baltimore chapter. Barbara Easley Cox, she was the wife of Donald L. Cox. So you see how that, you a strong man, you fight for something, she stand with you. B. Kwaku Duran, coordinator of the Southern California chapter from 1976 to 1981. He was a former lawyer, editor, he was a writer, social, political, and a community activist. He was an educator, all in that. Lorenzo Kamboa Irving, anarchist activist. Glenn Ford, he was a journalist. Kent Ford, co-founder of the Portland chapter. Reggie Fort, member of the Oakland chapter. Larry Gossett, member of the Seattle chapter. Stanley Green was a photojournalist. Bashir Hamid, the deputy chairman of the Jersey City chapter. Tim Hayes was the founder of the Atlanta chapter. He was also a writer and a community activist. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. When I say these names, keep going. These names keep going. All right. Next, we have Fred Hampton. Okay, Fred Hampton, phenomenal young spirit. Born August 30th, 1948, and died December 4th, 1969. He was the deputy chairman of the Black Panther Party and the chairman of the Illinois chapter. He founded the anti-racist, the anti-classist Rainbow Coalition, the Young Patriots, which was organized poor whites. He also founded the Young Lords, which is organized Hispanics, and he pretty much joined together different gangs in Chicago streets. All right. His whole fight was pretty much fascism. If you're not familiar with fascism, it's a mass political movement that emphasizes extreme nationalist, militarism, and the supremacy of both nation and single powerful leader over the individual citizen. Like I said, he was killed in 1969 during a raid by the FBI. But let's quote Frederick Hampton. One of my favorite quotes by Frederick Hampton is, "Nothing is more important than stopping fascism, because fascism will stop us all." Now that has no color on it. But let's continue. We have another. My bad. David Hilliard, Chief of Staff, University lecturer, and a party activist. Raymond Hewitt, he was a civil rights activist. Let's continue. Art Lessitter, he was a musician and worked with Ike Turner. Joan Tarika Lewis was a graphic designer and the first woman to join the party. Connie Matthews was the international coordinator of the Black Panther Party. She helped with the left-wing political groups. That's in Europe, places like Denmark and stuff like that. Lonnie McLucas was the Bridgeport, Connecticut member. Huey P. Newton, better known as the founder of the Black Panther Party, he crafted the 10-point program with Bobby Seale in 1966. Okay, he co-funded the Black Panther newspaper and funded over 60 to 70 community support programs, free breakfasts for kids and all of that. Kojo Namandi, he was a radio host, who was a member of the Brooklyn chapter. Jalil Muntayakum. Muntakim. Jalil Muntakim. He was a political prisoner. Salam Muwakil was a journalist. Kilu Nuwasha was a journalist. Sekou Odinga was an activist. Charlotte Hill O'Neal was a community organizer. P. O'Neal was the chairman of the Kansas City chapter. William O'Neal was an FBI informant. So we had hands in everything. Pat Parker was a poet. You see the bees? Good energy, good energy. Bees only attract to good energy. So when everybody gets scared of the bees, see the bees flying around my head? When everybody gets scared of the bees, if you can see it, that only means one thing. Good energy is in play. Bees they only connect into the frequency. Because at the end of the day, they have a motherfucking job to do, like we all do. Some of us we got feared and scared out of our positions. But let's continue. We left off with Pat Parker, who was a poet. Larry Pinkney was the member of the Republic of New Africa. Geronimo Pratt was the Deputy Minister of Defense. Alex Rackley was the New York member chapter. Nile Rodgers was the guitarist for rock and disco band Chic. All right, also a music producer. If you guys not familiar with the band Chic, they made that song. It's called "La Freak." Yeah, I know I'm young, but that doesn't matter. It's called "La Freak." If I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna say it goes like "Freak Out." Chic. Freak out. That's Chic. All right. But let's continue. Albert Howard was the founding member of the party and the first editor of his newspaper, the Black Panther. Erica Huggins was a longtime party leader. She was a professor of sociology. She was a spouse of John Huggins and a Los Angeles chapter leader. Bobby Hutton, better known as Robert James Hutton, at the age of 17, he was a treasurer, first recruit, and the first member killed by the police. All right? Y'all got to understand, this run deep. They've been taking us out in every way. All right? George Jackson, he was an author and a prison activist. If you're not familiar, he founded the Black Guerrilla Family. All right? Jamal Joseph was a film professor. He was an author and an Oscar nominee, a poet and a director. Judy Juanita, author who served as the editor for the newspaper. Magora Kennedy was an American minister and an LGBT civil rights activist and women's activist. So we thinking this LGBT, this been going on since the 70s. All right, 60s. Okay. I told Shorty, like, let's take 100 years back. Let's reverse 100 years back and see where we would be at. Since you know what I'm saying? But let's keep going. Shaka Khan, Yvette Stevens. Y'all know who Shaka Khan was. She was a former member in the Chicago chapter, a singer, 10-time Grammy winner. Warren Kimbrough, he was the New Haven, Connecticut chapter member, straight activist, all right? Robert Hillary King was an author, a lecturer, and a member of the Louisiana chapter, which formed a chapter in the Angola prisons. They call it Alcatraz of the South. I probably heard that it is real crucial in there. Like, you getting stabbed and everything. So you better be big on that, because I heard that even in the New Mansfield in Ohio, I heard there's some shit going on that's going on. But let's keep going. And we down to the last sheet of paper. If you made it this far, hit that like button and pat yourself on the back, because you do care. But let's continue. Malik Rahim, he was a member of the New Orleans chapter. He was the co-founder of the Common Ground Collective and the Hurricane Katrina relief program organizations. I say programs, same kind of shit. Bobby Rush was the Minister of Defense in Illinois chapter. He was the U.S. representative for Illinois, the first Congress district. So we're talking back. We've been fighting for this years now. I'm talking about 60s, 50s. You got to remember, the Black Panther Party, they was alive when they was watching Martin Luther King get murdered, watching Malcolm X get killed. They killing off different leaders. What you think that group was about? So they even preached bad things like about Larry Hoover and David Birchdale and Jeff Fort when they were just lost like Malcolm X. Malcolm X was in the streets, turned his life around. That's what they were afraid of. So they're not really afraid of a bunch of black people with guns. They're afraid of a bunch of black people together. I'll let you figure the rest of that out. George W. Sams Jr. was a New Haven chapter member. Reggie Shell was the defense captain of Philadelphia chapter. Bobby Seale was the chairman and the co-founder of the Black Panthers. He's an activist and author. I was going to elaborate and put a bunch of other things, but we got to keep it moving. Do your homework. All right. Afeni Shakur was Tupac's mother. She became the section leader of the Harlem chapter and a phenomenal mentor. So y'all probably was wondering how the fuck Tupac rapping the way he rapping. And Tupac was rapping on beats that wasn't hard beats. Tupac was taking a regular beat, but his words is what made the song. You understand? Tended to the fire, but let's continue. Asada Shakur. This is Afeni Shakur's best friend. Stuck with her friend through all that shit. Black people could barely stick together now. I don't know what's going on, but she was a political activist. Russell Maroon Schultz was an activist and a writer for the party. Marion Stamps was a member of the Chicago chapter. Michael Tabor was a member of the New York chapter and also straight activist. Robert Tribes was an evolutionary biologist and a sociologist. So like I said, it didn't matter what you did, where you came from, how they viewed you. We had hands in every part. We got scientists, agents, come on. You know what I'm saying? Street niggas. You got college graduates. But this is what didn't matter. They all understood the agenda. It was all for the plan. Right? So I hear a lot of people be like, oh, some kids, they didn't have kids. You don't think they sacrificed themselves? You don't think Martin Luther King and Malcolm X went out there sacrificing themselves and they had kids and they kicking in their doors? So don't give me the scary talk, black people. Don't give me the scary talk. Just tell me you scared and we can move on. Just tell me you scared. Go sit over there, but don't come out here to fight with your oppressors. Don't bring your ass outside where you see us gathering up. All right? And this isn't about race. This is about truth. That's it. Denise Oliver Velez. She was a professor and contributing editor for the Daily Coast and a former activist and a community organizer. John Watson was a Detroit chapter leader and an activist with the League of Revolutionary Black Workers. And Michael Zinzon was a straight activist. Before I end this video, I'm gonna end you with the quote from Afeni Shakur. If you didn't get what I said the first time, Tupac's mother. She says, trust me, you can't change anything without causing some degree of disruption. It's impossible. That is exactly what change is. Some people are uncomfortable with the disruption that changes cause. But the disruption is necessary if anything is going to change. So yeah, it ain't gonna be the same. I know y'all tired of the government fucking us over. We gotta build up warriors. Cause like I said, I understood what was happening when they was killing off all them black men and women, sentencing them behind jail. And these motherfuckers, they doing what's fighting for us. But that show other black people, sit your black ass down. You better not raise your voice when mass is speaking. That's what that means. I'm not here to speak race, but I find it very important that we know who we are and where we came from. Because too often, we only could talk about the bad shit. Slavery, getting hung from trees. We were beyond that. I ain't even taking 100,000 years back. I am SR22. Peace, love, and protection. Ashe.